garden eggs, fresh garden eggs. Come and buy. Is that not Monica from our class? She's selling garden eggs on the road.
Monica, how much is your garden egg? Sure, you can't carry it. Let me help you. Take care of yourselves. Did she just say that? Look at her, she's so pathetic. This is hilarious. Send me the photo. I can't believe she's carrying that. Just leave me alone.
They laughed because she was poor. They mocked her because life had broken her family. But none of them knew that this very market would witness the beginning of a story that would leave the whole town speechless. Monica Chukwu was born in a modest compound in Nnewi, Anambra State, the first of 6 children. Her father, Papa Emmanuel Chukwu, was a mechanic, not a wealthy one, but a respected one. He fixed engines with the same care most men reserve for their own children, and with what he earned, he fed his family, sent his children to school, and dreamed that one day, Monica, his brilliant firstborn, would become a pharmacist. Monica was 17 years old, in her final year of secondary school, when her entire world collapsed in a single afternoon. Papa Emmanuel suffered a massive heart attack while working underneath a vehicle. By the time neighbors rushed him to the hospital, it was already too late. He was gone. Just like that, without warning, without goodbye, the man who held their entire family together was no longer there. Monica was 17 years old on the day of her father's burial. She stood beside her mother, watching 5 younger siblings cry for a father who would never return, and something inside her shifted permanently. She was no longer a child. She could not afford to be. Mama Ngozika, devastated by grief, fell into a depression so heavy that she could barely function. She had never worked outside the home. She had no formal education, no trade, no way to provide for 6 children on her own. The family, once stable, was now standing on the edge of complete collapse. Someone had to become the pillar. Someone had to hold this family together. And in that quiet, devastating moment, 17-year-old Monica made a decision that would define the rest of her life. It would be her. The morning after her father's burial, Monica woke up before sunrise. She did not cry. She did not complain. She simply began to work. She started by selling akara at the roadside before school, waking at 4 in the morning to fry bean cakes that she would sell to hungry workers heading to their jobs. By 7 in the morning, she would pack away her frying pan, wash her hands and face, put on her school uniform over clothes still smelling of palm oil, and walk to school, arriving exactly as the morning assembly began. After school, there was no time for rest. Monica worked as a laborer on local farms, weeding cassava fields for landowners who paid her 1,000 naira for an entire day's back-breaking work. On weekends, she carried goods for market women, balancing baskets of vegetables, fruits, and grains on her head for hours, earning whatever coins they offered. Every single naira Monica earned went into one place, an old tin container hidden beneath her mattress. From that container came her siblings' school fees. From that container came bags of gari and rice for the family table. From that container came her mother's medications when grief made her physically ill. Monica kept nothing for herself. Not 1 naira. Not one small pleasure. While her classmates arrived at school with fresh braids, new sandals, and phones with credit for browsing, Monica arrived in the same 2 school uniforms she had owned for 3 years, patched at the elbows. Her only pair of school sandals held together with a needle and thread she had learned to use herself. The mockery was constant. Chioma and Ninkechi, the daughters of wealthy traders, made it their mission to remind Monica of her poverty every single day. They called her Garden Egg Girl. They laughed when she walked past. They made sure she knew, in every possible way, that she did not belong among them. But what Chioma and Ninkechi never understood, what they could never understand from their comfortable homes, was that Monica's poverty was not laziness. It was not a lack of ambition. It was the direct result of sacrifice. Every hour they spent styling their hair, Monica spent earning money to keep her younger sister in school. Every naira they spent on data for social media, Monica spent on medicine for her grieving mother. At night, after all her siblings were fed and asleep, after her mother had taken her medication and settled into an uneasy rest, Monica would sit by a small kerosene lamp and study, not because anyone forced her to, but because she had made a private vow to herself on the day of her father's burial. Poverty would end with her generation. She would not allow her younger siblings to inherit this same struggle. Her class teacher, Mrs. Adaezi Obi, was one of the few people who saw beyond Monica's worn uniform. She recognized something extraordinary in this quiet, exhausted girl, who somehow still submitted every assignment, who somehow still scored among the highest in mathematics, and further mathematics, despite carrying burdens no 17-year-old should carry. Yemares, Obi, I said to Monica, your mathematics score this term is the highest in the entire class. Have you thought about what you want to study after secondary school? Monica responded, Ma, I want to study accounting, but I don't know how I will afford university, Ma. My mind is troubled about my younger ones first. MRS, Obi, I said, listen to me, Monica. Talent like yours does not go unnoticed forever. Keep working. Keep believing. Something good is coming for you. Monica held on to those words like a lifeline through the darkest days. By the time Monica sat for her Waiki examinations, she had been carrying her family's weight for nearly 2 years. The tin container beneath her mattress had seen thousands of naira pass through it, every single coin earned through exhausting, unglamorous labor. She had grown thinner, her hands had grown rougher, her eyes had grown older than her 17, now 19, years should have allowed. She passed her wake examinations with 8 distinctions, a result that stunned her entire school. Teachers who had barely noticed the quiet, poorly dressed girl in the back row suddenly saw her differently, but excellent results meant nothing without money for university admission, textbooks, and accommodation. Monica applied to study accounting at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. She was offered admission, but admission was not the same as attendance. The school fees alone, 250,000 naira for the first year, might as well have been 250 million to a family surviving on garden eggs and farm labor. For 3 months, Monica worked even harder, taking on additional jobs, saving every possible naira. But no matter how hard she worked, the gap between what she earned and what she needed remained impossibly wide. Some nights, she sat with her calculations, doing the mathematics over and over, hoping the numbers would somehow change. They never did. Then, one afternoon, everything changed, not through luck, but through the very hard work she had never stopped doing. A woman named Mrs. Patricia Eze, a successful business owner who ran a chain of provision stores across Anambra and Enugu states, had come to the local market that day to inspect a shop she was considering renting near where Monica sold her garden eggs. As Mrs. Eze walked through the market, she noticed something unusual. A young girl, clearly exhausted, still counting her coins with meticulous, almost professional care, recording every transaction in a small, worn notebook. MRS Eze. Good afternoon. I could not help but notice you writing in that notebook. What exactly are you recording? Monica answered her politely. Good afternoon, Ma. I record my sales every day. How much I spend on goods, how much I sell them for, my profit and my loss. It helps me know if I am managing well. MRS. Easy impressed asked her. How old are you? Monica responded. I am 19, Ma. MRS. Easy asked. May I see this book? Monica handed over her notebook nervously, unsure why this well-dressed stranger was so interested in her simple record-keeping. But what Mrs. Eze saw in those pages astonished her. The notebook was not simple. It was methodical, organized, and remarkably sophisticated for someone with no formal training in bookkeeping. Monica had taught herself basic accounting principles simply by trying to survive, tracking expenses, calculating margins, forecasting which market days would bring better sales would bring. If you have ever felt invisible while working harder than everyone around you, if you have ever wondered whether your silent sacrifices would ever be seen, I need you to subscribe to this channel right now. Because what happens next in Monica's story will remind you that the universe is always watching those who refuse to give up, even when it feels like nobody notices. Mrs. Eze asked Monica question after question about her family, her education, her results, her dreams. Monica answered honestly, without embellishment, without asking for pity. She simply told the truth. Her father was gone, her mother could not work, she had 5 younger siblings depending on her, and she had gained admission to study accounting, but had no way to fund it. Monica, I run a business that has grown faster than my ability to manage its finances properly. I need someone I can trust to help me organize my records while you study. Would you be interested in working for me part-time while attending university? I would also assist with your school fees. Monica stunned asked Ma, are you serious? You would do this for me? Meme says, Easy responded, I have watched you for the past 30 minutes, Monica. I did not see a poor girl selling garden eggs. I saw a future accountant who has been training herself without even realizing it. I do not offer charity, Monica. I offer opportunity to those who have already proven they will not waste it. Monica could barely process what was happening. In the span of 30 minutes, a chance encounter at the market had opened a door she had convinced herself would remain forever closed. She ran home that afternoon, her basin of unsold garden eggs forgotten, to share the news with her mother. Mama Ngozika, who had slowly been recovering from her depression over the past 2 years, largely because of Monica's unwavering strength, wept when she heard the news. For the first time since her husband's death, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. Mama Ngozika, with tears, said, Your father is smiling from heaven today, my daughter. Everything you have sacrificed, everything you have carried, it was never in vain. True to her word, Mrs. Eze paid Monica's first-year school fees in full. She arranged for Monica to work remotely, managing basic bookkeeping for her provision store chain during evenings and weekends, earning a stipend that, combined with her natural discipline with money, allowed her to support her family even while attending university. University was not easy. Monica still worked harder than most of her classmates, balancing coursework with her responsibilities to Mrs. Eze's business and her family back home. But for the first time in 2 years, she was not drowning. She was swimming, even if the current remained strong. Mrs. Eze, watching Monica's natural talent for numbers and her unwavering work ethic, began giving her more responsibility. By Monica's 2nd year, she was no longer just recording transactions. She was analyzing them, identifying inefficiencies in Mrs. Eze's business, suggesting improvements that increased profit margins across all 7 of her provision stores. MRS EZ, impressed, she said to Monica, Do you understand what you have done here? You have identified almost 400,000 naira in losses that I did not even know existed. This is exceptional work. Monica responded, Ma, I simply applied what I learned in school to what I see in your business. I am grateful you gave me the chance to learn by doing. By her final year at university, Monica was managing the entire financial department of Mrs. Eze's growing business empire, now expanded to 12 stores across 3 states. Monica graduated from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, with a first-class degree in accounting, the best graduating student in her department that year. Her family traveled from Nnewi to attend her convocation, all 6 of them squeezed into a rented vehicle for the journey, unable to contain their pride. Immediately after graduation, Mrs. Eze made Monica an offer that would change everything. Chief Financial Officer of her entire business empire, now valued at over 2 billion naira, with stores expanding into 4 additional states. Monica accepted, but she did not stop there. Using her financial expertise and the modest savings she had accumulated, she began investing in agricultural technology, specifically systems that could help small-scale farmers like the ones she had once labored for increase their yields and reduce waste. Having lived the struggle of manual farm labor herself, Monica understood the problem from the inside in a way no outside investor ever could. Within 3 years of graduating, Monica had launched her own agricultural consulting firm alongside her role at Mrs. Eze's company. She called it Nkwo Harvest Solutions, named in honor of her father, who had taught her that hard work, done with integrity, always eventually bears fruit. Her firm grew rapidly, helping over 300 smallholder farmers across Anambra, Enugu, and Imo states increase their income by an average of 60% within the first 2 years of implementing her recommendations. Monica had not just escaped poverty, she was actively helping others escape it too. She built a new house for her mother in Newi, not extravagant, but comfortable and dignified. She paid for all 5 of her younger siblings to attend the schools of their choice, including university for the 2 who had come of age. Her younger sister, Adaeze, inspired by Monica's journey, was now studying medicine, determined to become a doctor. And then, 5 years after that fateful encounter in the market, Monica received an invitation that brought her story full circle. Her old secondary school was hosting its 10th anniversary alumni reunion, and as one of the school's most distinguished graduates, she was invited to be the keynote speaker. Monica arrived at her old school in a car that Mrs. A's had gifted her upon becoming CFO, not flashy, but clearly expensive. She walked into the same hall where she had once been mocked for her worn uniform, now dressed elegantly, but simply, radiating a quiet confidence that came not from wealth, but from having survived what few people could imagine surviving. Among the crowd of former classmates gathered for the reunion were 2 familiar faces, Chioma and Kechi. Both had struggled to find their footing after secondary school. Chioma's family business had collapsed during an economic downturn, and Nkechi had dropped out of university twice due to financial difficulties her family could no longer hide. When Monica took the podium to deliver her keynote address, the entire hall fell silent. She did not mention Chioma or Nkechi by name. She did not seek revenge or public humiliation. Instead, she told her story. The true, unfiltered story of losing her father at 17, of frying akara before sunrise, of carrying baskets on farms for 1,000 naira a day, of being mocked for her poverty by classmates who could not understand her sacrifice. Monica addressing the crowd. I stand before you today, not because I was lucky, but because I refused to let my circumstances define my future. There were girls in this very hall who laughed at me for selling garden eggs. I want you to know, I am not angry at them, because they could not see what I could not yet see myself. That every naira I earned, every insult I endured, every night I studied by lamplight, was building the woman standing before you today. To every young girl in this room who is working 2 jobs while still in school, who is ashamed of her worn shoes, who feels invisible because she cannot afford what her classmates have, I need you to hear me. Your current circumstances are not a life sentence. They are simply the soil in which your future is being planted. What matters is not what you have. What matters is what you refuse to give up on. If Monica's story has moved you today, if you see yourself in her struggle, or if you know someone who is silently carrying burdens far too heavy for their age, subscribe to this channel right now. We tell stories about people who refuse to be defined by their circumstances. Stories about silent warriors who rise. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear that their sacrifice is not invisible and their breakthrough is coming. After her speech, Chioma approached Monica quietly, tears in her eyes, and apologized for the cruelty of their school days. Monica, without hesitation, embraced her. Not because the pain of those years had disappeared, but because Monica understood something profound. Holding on to bitterness would only weigh down the very future she had fought so hard to build. This is the story of Monica Chukwu, a girl who lost her father at 17, and in losing him, found a strength she never knew she carried. A girl who turned garden eggs and farm labor into the foundation of a business empire. A girl who proved that poverty is not a measure of worth, but simply a chapter. One that hard work, integrity, and unshakable determination can eventually close. If you are the Monica in your own story right now, if you are working exhausting hours while others sleep, if you are wearing patched clothes while others wear designer labels, if you feel invisible while carrying burdens too heavy for your years, I want you to know something. Your season of struggle is not your final season. Your sacrifice is being recorded, even when it feels unseen, and your breakthrough, like Monica's, is closer than you think. This is the girl who carried her family. Thank you for watching. May her story remind you that hard work, done with integrity, always eventually bears fruit.